Well, here's a surprising statistic. 30% of new school teachers quit after 3 years on the job, and half leave the classroom within 5 years. The biggest reason? According to the Gates Foundation, it's not the pay or that they don't like teaching.
It's that they don't like the school they're teaching in. Just not a good fit, which is where myedmatch.com comes in.
When it comes to dating, Michelle doesn't want more dates. She wants better dates.
Much like online dating brings together people looking for love, this website matches teachers to schools. Its founders believe so strongly in it that they left their high-profile education jobs to start the venture. Monroe Richardson was a vice president at the Kauffman Foundation, and Alicia Herold, the head of Kansas City's Teach for America. This is being called a sort of Match.com, an eHarmony of education jobs. Does that make you flinch when you hear that sort of analogy, Monroe?
It doesn't make me flinch. Actually, I think it's quite genius. What we're doing is taking something that's worked in another domain, namely helping couples find each other, and moving it into education, which is an opportunity to help teachers and schools find each other.
Now, how did this concept come about, Alicia?
So the reason why I don't flinch is because I was actually online dating. And so
that's where it came from.
That's where it came from. So in my previous role, I was the executive director with Teach for America Kansas City, and focused a lot on human capital. How do we better attract teachers here, help place them in high-fit schools? And I was in business school and studying a lot about innovation. And so it all said, start with the big problem in your life. What keeps you up at night? And what was keeping me up at night literally was talent when it comes to human capital. Professionally, trying to find teachers, recruit them to Kansas City, and personally, trying to find my perfect match.
Now, we heard at the very beginning that it is not pay that is taking teachers out of the classroom. It is not that they don't want to teach anymore. It is that fit, the working conditions, that is taking up to a half of new teachers out of the classroom after 5 years. Really, Monroe?
It's true. When you look at what it is that teachers tell us in terms of why they're leaving, many of us think that it's the pay, right? And it's true, teachers aren't paid that much, and many would argue teachers aren't paid enough. But when you look at why teachers leave, the reasons they point to, it has everything to do with not feeling like they have a good fit with where they're working. And what we realized is that there was no easy way for teachers to figure this out. It's hard to look at a school's website and to see, does this school align with my beliefs about education, who I am, what I bring to the job, and what I'm looking for. And so we felt like there was a huge opportunity to fix this problem. What we have is, in many ways, described as a leaky bucket. So we're pouring new teachers into the bucket every year as we are seeing an exodus of teachers, particularly new teachers, leaving the profession. And as a result, over the last 20 years, the typical teacher, in terms of the number of years of experience, has declined from roughly about 15 years of experience in the late 80s to less than 3 years now.
Now, myedmatch.com then is about trying to find that fit between teachers and schools. But if you went onto a dating site, they're going to ask you, are you a smoker, a non-smoker? Do you like pets? Are you more interested in, say, horror movies or romantic comedies?
You've
Italian?
visited these sites. You know this pretty well.
I had to do my research for this program. But how are you finding that fit then when it comes to teachers? What kind of questions are you asking?
I'd say twofold. First, we've actually developed a proprietary matching algorithm. So we've taken from both research of what makes high-performing schools and some of the frameworks that are out there in education to develop this algorithm that's along 7 core dimensions in education. So it starts with the mission.
You're sounding like eHarmony right now. Okay.
Yes, we have that algorithm. So it is really tailored specifically for K-12 education and what matters most. And then on the second part of it, our profiles are tailored specifically with information that the other side has told us they want to see. We ask the schools to fill out information that speaks directly to teacher candidates about what's most important to them. How much autonomy am I going to have? What curriculum do I use? What additional expectations do you have for me? And there's also the opportunity for a school leader to create a video speaking directly to prospective candidates about this is what our team is like, here's our culture, here's where our school is and what it's like to live in our community. And that information just doesn't exist out there.
Now, you both gave up terrific jobs. Monroe, you were a vice president at the Kauffman Foundation. Alicia, you mentioned you were at Teach for America, executive director of a national organization. You both gave them up for this. Now, teachers don't pay a dime to be part of this service. So how are you making money?
So it's an annual subscription for our school customers, which ranges for a single-site school at about $1,000 a year, up to $25,000 for a district of 50 schools.
So how many schools have signed up then for this service thus far? You've just launched this service.
That's right. So we launched the service in late February, so we've been running for just over 2 months now. We have over 100 schools in 17 states on the site that are using MyEdMatch to recruit teachers. And we got some really good news last week. We have our very first match on MyEdMatch, and I can't remember, it's a school in Houston?
It's a school in Houston, a YES prep school, and they found a teacher that has 3 years of experience living in Arizona somewhere. I hadn't even heard of the town or the city, but they were able to connect and otherwise likely wouldn't have found each other, and were an excellent fit and went through the interview process, and he'll be moving there and joining their team next year.
Monroe, the fact that you're now being able to take what is an education field when you were at Kauffman, and the other big strength of Kauffman, which was entrepreneurship.
That's right.
You're bringing them both together.
I'd like to believe that Ewing Kauffman, if he were alive today, would be very proud of what it is that Alicia and I are trying to do. Teach for America is a grantee of the Kauffman Foundation. We're actually trying to solve a problem that both Alicia and I separately saw in our respective work at Teach for America and the Kauffman Foundation. And our hope is that not only will we be able to do something that improves education, which is something that Ewing Kauffman cared deeply about, but also contributes to the startup environment in Kansas City, and I guess the larger entrepreneurial experience here in the United States.
Alrighty, Alicia Herold, Monroe Richardson, thank you so much for being with us on The Local Show. You can find out all about myedmatch.com on thelocalshow.org. All the details are there.